Welcome to the Human Bacon Podcast, Episode 3. I am Tyler, your host here, and I got my co-host Nick.
What up?
And we're going to be switching it up a little bit today. We're not going to be talking too much about video games, but politics. We're going to try that out. See how that goes. So new president officially today.
We have a new president of the free world.
Mr. Biden. Mr. Joe Biden.
Joseph something Biden Jr.
Is he a junior?
Yeah, he's a junior.
God damn it.
And he is 78 years old, I believe, too.
That is very high.
He's the oldest president ever elected.
Well, apparently, like, presidents have, like, extremely good health care. He's gonna need it.
Oh, I mean, that's 78. So he runs for 8 years, and let's just say he's going to be 86 when it ends.
If he goes 8 years.
How many 86s do you old? You're like, nah, he should be able to handle nukes.
I think, I think 2 years in, he's just gonna be like, I can't do this.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like primarily what I think is, like, his VP is basically gonna be in charge.
Yep.
He's not gonna be making any major decisions.
He
is too old, and I don't know, I think there's too many examples of dementia there. So
yeah, it's a lot of stumbling on words. But then the other side, it's like, well, how old is Trump? He's got to be. He's 72.
Is he 72?
Yeah, he's 72. Like, all right. So once again,
as long as
it's two old white men. Just
so it's like the thing with Trump. It's like his vocabulary sucks.
Yeah.
He uses the words huge and big in almost every
way
sentence.
too many hand gestures.
A lot of hand gestures. I don't even think he's Italian. I think he stole that.
He just uses a lot of hand. And then anytime like he's wrong about something, he can't just be like, yeah, well, I got that wrong with something. He's like, he just won't acknowledge it. Like, dude, but you said this and that didn't. No, it doesn't matter. That's you're just lying. And then the other guy's just sitting there like, I like cheese. And you're like, yes, Joe, we all like cheese. Yes.
It's honestly funny because like
it's sad but funny.
The presidency, it used to be something that only intellectuals chased.
Literally,
and
like the founding fathers of people who like...
Yeah, like intellectuals, like people with, decent IQs.
Yeah.
And actually are competent, and actually can maybe potentially run a country. But it's like our candidates nowadays, they're not... What they want is like popular people. They don't want smart people.
You want a figure.
Yeah, they want...
It's nowadays. You want, an idol almost as somebody who...
That's what the Republicans and Democrats aim for now.
Yeah.
They aim for basically just people who are popular instead of people who could actually do the job because they want the votes.
Yeah, like literally.
And that's all they want.
If we really looked, I mean, there was almost 350 million people in this country. Like, do you ever think the best person has ever really won president? Like, never. I don't think the best person in our country to lead us at the time has never won. It's just because you got to have an in. Some Joe Schmo off the street trying to campaign is not going to work. You have to have some ties or have to be running for something for a while and I know there's a certain age that you have to be before. I think it's 50 or something like that before you can even run.
I'm saying back in the day it was more who's the best, and today it's more who's popular.
There's just too many people now at the same time. Back when we started, there's a couple 100,000 people here. You can pick the best guy out of that. You go hundreds of millions. It's like, oh, this.
Like, I mean, there's been a share of bad presidents in the past, and like you could nitpick that. But as far as like the average goes, it's like since Bush, it's just kind of
even Bush was like,
well, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like,
and then before him is Clinton, and then before him was his dad, and his dad only served one term. George Bush Sr. only served 4 years.
Yeah, I'm just saying since then I think it's been more about popularity instead of
100%.
Instead of credentials. It's like really. Like, what do you want? It's not about what you want anymore. It's about, your biases. And they want to exploit that. And
I think over the
which
last...
is very wrong.
Especially with social media, too, which is... The right just goes hard to right. The left just goes hard to left. I just feel like the more time's going, they're just so separating from each other. And it's like kids now. Like, you can't even come up with something and, like, agree on something. You're like, exactly. Who's bringing this up? Which side's bringing this even subject up before? Like, they make their mind up by which side is bringing up the subject before listening to what they have as an idea.
What the logic is behind it.
Yeah.
They're not using any sort of logos, pathos, or ethos. Well, they're using pathos primarily to understand what people are saying. And pathos is like pathology, emotion. They use their emotion to try to understand politics and stuff instead of using actual deduction.
And that's not what you're supposed to do. It's
logical
like,
deduction.
Yeah,
You know.
you guys are supposed to be the ones making decisions for all of us. And
Yeah.
then it's just like, well, I can't agree with this guy.
Well, all of us are voting in people emotionally instead
Oh,
of
at the same
actually
time,
taking
yeah.
the time to.
I mean,
to
let's
actually look
let's be
at-
real. I mean, like we were just saying. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not the biggest Trump fan or Biden fan, but just so
Yep.
many people hated Trump. That's why Biden got voted in. I feel like it wasn't because of what Biden was saying politics and well, what I'm going to do. You know, this is my ideas. This is what I'm going to do. People just looked at Trump and go, "Fuck that guy. I'm voting for Joe. I'm tired of this
And
guy."
We have to look at why people look at it that way.
Yep.
It's because most older people, I'd say, they're not on YouTube watching
yeah.
political videos. They're watching news.
Yeah.
And news is nowadays is very
It's
very
bad.
biased.
It's worse. Yeah, if you're just getting it from if you're just watching Fox or you're just watching CNN or one of those, then it's just like you know putting in a donut, just putting in this information in your head that you're just like, oh well, this must be how it is
Yeah.
because this is a legit news station since I was a kid. So she's like you're saying with
Well,
older
that's-
people,
Yeah, because
older people
they've watched
when it was
CNN,
actually
they've
the
watched
news
Fox
and
when it was
people
the
would-
news and stuff. And nowadays it's
it's
biased.
it's right news, it's
so
left
biased.
news.
Yeah,
That's it.
There's no news.
There's no real news.
There's no real news. Like I'm sure you've heard me talk about, or I think I told you previously, not on the podcast, about like BBC news, like the British type of news.
Oh yeah,
I haven't showed you like the video of it, but literally it's the most stone cold, boring type of news you could ever listen to. And it's like that because they only present you with facts and evidence and actual.
So that's why it's boring because you're just
Yeah.
sitting there like, but you know,
But
us
at
as
that-
Americans, we need the drama.
Yeah,
what's
that's what we want. We want drama. We don't want actual news. We want to be entertained by the news.
yeah,
And our entertainment is supposed to come from stories and movies and books and video games. That's no longer the place for entertainment.
Yeah.
Politics is entertainment.
now it's politics. Now it's just like these villains that
Yeah.
almost is like from a movie almost, and you're like, all
There's
right,
people on both sides of the spectrum that just
Yeah.
vilify everyone on the other side.
it's just Hans
it's like-
Gruber, Die Hard. Everyone just wants that guy to like root against. You're like, all right,
Yeah,
this is
because I'd say I'm more conservative than
Yeah.
you, and you're more liberal
I'm more
than me.
li- yeah.
And that's fine. But we have a dialogue. And
Yeah, we both
we're,
know,
we're
like-
willing to like talk about things and like go through logical deductions.
Yeah.
Not everyone's willing to do that.
No,
You
not at
know,
all.
A lot of people are. They want that emotional, just sort of bias against the subject or
Yep.
person on either the right or the left, and then they attack. And then-
Immediately, just
so what they do, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. They look at say it's a liberal looking at a conservative. They'll be like, "Oh, he's a part of that group, so he's a villain." Right?
Yep.
Or it could be the other way around. It doesn't matter like which way you look at it. But when you do that, you dehumanize the person because you're attributing them to a group. You're not looking at them as an individual and
Yep.
asking them, "Why do you have the beliefs you have? You know, why do you believe what you believe?"
yep,
And if you don't ask those questions and you want to figure out the actual truth and like where truth comes from and how you get to truth, it's like you need a dialogue for that.
Yep.
You need to be willing to sit down with people who you disagree with extremely and to
Let's just be
able
civil.
to make progress
and be
you know?
humans about it. Just be like, all right, well, I don't. But instead of just immediately just conspiracy theories or this is that or this
Yeah.
person's like sabotaging this, it's like, well, can we just talk for a second? And nowadays, like, no, can't
No.
just talk.
No,
You
no,
gotta-
no one wants to talk nowadays.
I'm taking an extreme side, and that's
But-
the side we're going.
That's what I learned from just watching like politics on YouTube is like people actually talk on podcasts, you know? They actually want to have a conversation. They're not biased, right?
Yep.
Because you got to think like the news, it's all about making money. It's a business.
Oh, 100%.
And if you don't get the views, you don't get the advertisements, you don't make the money.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's just you just follow the money. But you know, they have to make the money.
It's almost like the YouTube algorithm thing. Like, all right, they're gonna do a couple stories, and then they're gonna see
Yeah.
which stories people are most interested. And if it's this crazy extreme one that even doesn't make sense, but people are watching it and they're making money, all right, then we're gonna do more of those stories.
Yeah.
And then it just snowballs, and then now it's just these people just like, you know, Trump's the father of the werewolf, and Joe Biden's Dracula, and people like believe in both sides. And like, what are you talking about, dude? Can we just have a conversation about what's going on? Like, no,
Yeah.
no.
And the YouTube algorithm, well, there's been talk about it like recently and in the past. Is just sometimes it gets scary too because the way like YouTube is an overwhelmingly liberal company, Right.
Oh, yeah. Most companies are.
Most companies
Yeah.
are liberal, right? Because they're entrepreneurs and they like discovering new things and new
Yep.
ideas, and that's not necessarily a conservative value.
Yep.
So, but the downside to that is when companies try to, well, companies as big as YouTube or as big as Google
Or Facebook or any.
yeah, or
yes.
Facebook, they try to feed you information that they think is right.
Yes.
So they don't want actual dialogue. They don't want actual truth.
No.
They want to feed you what they believe.
What's helping them?
Yeah, like sometimes they blame it on the algorithm that does it, and like the algorithm will feed someone with a liberal mindset nothing but liberal stuff.
Absolutely. That's why it pushes both sides. That's why I was saying earlier about the social media thing. It was like back in even early 2000s and late 90s, like there was no big real social media presence, so people got their information from newspapers and things like that. So you couldn't really go down this rabbit hole of conspiracy theories.
Well,
like unless you had to go put the footwork in to go through that whole read different stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's like you can just sit in your phone for a day and be convinced, Sasquatch is real and the moon is made of cheese. Like that's how crazy it is with the YouTube algorithm. Like you just a couple hours and you can just of information. Even a few years ago, you would never have access to, even if it's as crazy as like the world being flat.
Yeah.
So a whole bunch of people think the world is flat.
Well, what people do is they get inside these groups, these bubbles of people that they think that they believe.
Yeah, you get all together and it's this pack mentality.
It's pack mentality. They advocate for what each other believes, and this is the same thing with politics. Like it doesn't matter how big the group is. Once you get inside a group and then you start talking to people inside that group, you're gonna validate each other's ideas, and that's not necessarily a bad thing on the surface. But when you go deeper, you can become very biased. And ignorant.
Yep.
And you're just because you start to look at other groups as if they're entirely wrong. And
because you just got this idea because you've just been listening to all your buddies and you've all agreed forever on this one thing, and then it comes to something else and you're like, well, I don't know about that. They're like the QAnon stuff, like the Democrats are the QAnon. It's a crazy, wicked right wing conspiracy theory that Donald Trump is trying to stop it, and it's a bunch of Democrats who are essentially taking the souls of children. They're like molesting children literally, and they think and killing children, and they're getting their doing something with their blood, and they think that it's making them younger and all that. It's a real
I've heard about that. Yeah, that's
dude, I don't.
And there's
and they think that
Reddit forums.
Yeah, there's people who will dude, Trump is trying to stop this, and I'm like,
they've
listen,
written 10 pages.
I'm not the biggest fan of Trump, but if you don't think that this man with his ego was doing something like that to stop it, he wouldn't be talking about it every other day. There's no way that that's a real thing that was happening, that he kept his mouth shut on. Yeah. Anything he did that was good, he let everybody know his whole life. I've done this thing good. Yeah. You think now the biggest noblest thing he's ever done is stopping all these child molesters who believe in Satan that are making them younger, that he's just I'm going to keep quiet about this one. There's no way you're keeping quiet about that one. He would be tweeting every other day dude, these people are Satanists, and we'd all be like, holy shit, dude, we need to stop this.
Yeah. Alex Jones is
Alex Jones is funny though at the same time because he knows that he's
but I'm saying those type of conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
I don't know. Alex
the turning frogs gay. That's
Alex Jones is in that middle of is he just crazy or is he a comedian? Because what he's saying is hilarious, but I don't know if he really believes it.
I would lean 60% more crazy and 40% being funny. Yeah. I think he started off just being really funny, and then you just go down that rabbit hole now, and now he must just be like, oh shit. Though,
interdimensional demons.
Obviously, I don't want to say he's funny because one day this is going to come back to haunt me that I think Alex Jones is funny. That whole Sandy Hook thing was fucked up. Him saying that was fake. Dude, you can't. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's a big reason why he got canceled.
Yeah, exactly.
Because children literally lost their lives, and he's saying it's fake.
And he was like, "Nah, they were crisis actors."
Yeah.
I had a friend who was like that once, who was telling me all this conspiracy theory stuff, and he was talking about how there's crisis actors and people already, and I was just staring. I'm like, dude, I'm kind of jealous of you because you live in a really fun world where there's reptile people and there's conspiracy theories and we're breeding on the ground, and I just live in this. We're just stupid walking monkeys, and one day we're gonna die. You know what I mean? He's like, nah, man, there's these reptiles who shapeshift and crisis actors during events, and I'm like, I
wish I believed.
Dude, that's cool. That you know what I mean? That sounds awesome. It's even better than religion almost.
Well, it's his own,
because it's walking around us.
Type of religion. Conspiracy theories. That's what they are. They're they're a
It's like a cult.
They're a weird type of religion.
Oh,
because
yeah.
they serve the same purpose. It's like you're just invested in this thing, and
Oh, yeah.
and it gives you a lot of meaning and purpose because you're in this group that believes it. And whether it's real or not almost doesn't even matter. It's just like your belief in it. That
Yep. It's
really
that
triggers it.
maybe we don't get copyrighted, but that Bill Burr joke about him giving up his religion and how true it was of like, you get told that story when you're a kid. When you're a little kid and they tell you, like the story about, I'm from a Christian family, so, they tell you about God and Noah and all this stuff. And at the same time, I think the Easter Bunny's real, and I think there's a Tooth Fairy, and I think there's Santa. Why wouldn't there be
A god.
a god or something like that? And then you slowly get older and you realize, oh, that's not real. That's not real. That's not real. But then you're like, but that one was? Like, is this really real? And they're like, oh, no, that one is. But, there's no giant man living in the North Pole giving you presents watching me every year. But the guy who's staring in the clouds watches me and judges my whole life. You're like, well, what do you mean? Like, which one how do I believe in something when you...
I had the same sort of like realization when I was like 15, 16. Because I was like, they lied to me about the Easter Bunny. They lied to me about Santa. They lied to me about the Tooth Fairy. I was just like, what's real? And like, see, that's the thing though. Like, and when it comes to God, it's like we're the only species on the planet that has ever tried to implement a deity or a god into our society and civilization, and that's pretty important when you look at human beings because
it's the most important thing we've ever.
That's the thing that separates us from animals. Basically,
we think that our actions have afterlife repercussions. Like animal, a bear is just taking down an animal, not thinking, well, what happens is this wrong for me to kill this animal? To do, I'm killing somebody. Like people, there's literally people who are like, I can't do this because then I'm going to go to hell. For like, there's no animals that are swimming or flying around thinking like, what's going to happen after I die? Yeah. I don't know why at one point we were just sitting there like, dude, what happens after you're dead? Yeah. Like, when did that first come up? Where someone was like,
well, since we had consciousness, it's like that question had to be around because
early on, you think too, right?
Like, yeah. When you think about like let's say primitive tribes and like anthropological tribes, like very primitive societies, it's like what's the one thing that they all shared and had, and that's like the night sky.
Oh yeah.
And, like before all the light pollution that we have nowadays, the night sky was fucking amazing.
Oh my, how big the moon was and everything.
Because like every society we ever know of that's been primitive, they've made stories about the sky because it's so. I mean, literally, if you
don't know what it is.
If you go somewhere with no light pollution and you tell me and you see the actual sky,
you can see the galaxy.
Yeah, you see the galaxy, you see the Milky Way. It's like they've made so many stories and
how couldn't you
stuff about the sky because they didn't know.
Yeah, how would you? How would people who are in the grass age still going to tell me what nuclear fusion is going on out in the middle? Billions of light years away. Like what you're looking at doesn't even exist. They couldn't fathom that. It would make more sense to say, yeah, there's just people living in the sky who control, especially when bad things would happen, like bad weather and stuff or whatever. They'd be like, oh, well, it's because of this or that. And you're like, now it's really just the Earth. Like you couldn't explain that.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, like at one point where like, I wonder if it's just somebody losing somebody close to them, and they were like, I hope now they're doing something else. Or if one of it was just somebody tripping on mushrooms one time, and they were just thinking that, you know what I mean? Like, dude, the Stoned Ape theory is really funny.
That's fun. Yeah. So it's just, if you don't know about the Stoned Ape theory, it's just basically primitive humans, practically Neanderthal monkeys, found mushrooms, and through generational periods, they continued to eat those mushrooms and have crazy psychedelic trips and. We know now from science that mushrooms actually create many neural connections in your brain.
Just like that could have helped them to realize that cooking food is a lot better for your brain and everything too. Instead of just eating a bunch of raw stuff, you actually started roasting and cooking stuff over fire. Like why? How did they at one point realize if I cook this woolly mammoth over the fire, it's better?
They probably just found some sort of...
You think one just got struck by lightning or hit in a fire and they just rolled up and ate it and he was like, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life.
We know there were forest fires back then.
Oh, yeah. It's inevitable. Things get dry, something hits it, and now there's a fire.
There had dead animals in it, and then they just tasted it and they were like, this is amazing.
Eating koala sandwiches, and they were just like, this is actually pretty good, dude.
This is a lot better than how we were doing it. But yeah, the Stoned Ape theory, that's a fun one, man. That's
Because you never know. You really don't know. All of a sudden, we were just walking upright and talking to each other, and then now we live in a. I mean, I live in a city right now where there's over 100,000 people, and everyone has houses and cars and drives around. It's like it wasn't that long ago we were living in trees, dodging saber-toothed tigers, compared to like the history of everything.
Oh yeah, the evolution of humans. It's
quick.
It's
like
very,
something
very quick.
happened
On a cosmic scale. Like literally, it goes from like a flat line to like straight
to
up.
where we are now. I mean, you can text anybody in any place of the earth. We have, I mean, with the Voyager, whatever's in deep space that they sent in the 70s, they can still talk to that thing.
I know.
And like that's insane to think. Like 100 years before that, if you would have shown somebody just a regular car, they would have burned you.
Dude,
at this. You know what I mean? You pulled out a phone or something, like you're getting burnt and executed.
One of the things I wanted to do, ever since I saw the Transformer movie, I was just like, I want to go back in time and show this to someone in the 1800s and just tell them it was real.
Like, could you just something on your phone? They would like literally like, or you would just be like worshipped as some type of deity.
Yeah.
That if you went back to a time and
Or they
showed
call
somebody
you a
like
witch and
that,
burn you.
yeah, you can't go into Salem or anything like that. But even like, imagine going back to like where there was kings and queens actually did stuff in England and all that, and them going in there and even getting something simple. You know what I mean? Like a fucking cell phone, just playing music. Even an old school flip phone is something. You just turn on a ringtone. It's the most simple, like do 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 do. Literally, they would be like, "Did that thing just make? How did that make noise?" Yeah. Like you didn't have to play an instrument and do anything in the thing. And now we look at that and like that's baby stuff. What is that? Like that was.
To think what would be around in 100 years from us, we wouldn't probably be able to comprehend it.
No way.
So, and that's just fascinating because like the progression of science is just so quick. I mean.
Even from like we'll even just go to, which is funny because everyone always like the year 2000 I'm going to be flying cars and doing all this stuff, but it's like if you really think from 2000 to 2020, that's like the Jetsons age almost. Like you can drive around in a Tesla, and that thing is like a fucking spacecraft.
Yeah, you don't even have to touch the wheel.
You're gonna do anything. Like that thing is insane. In 2000, what was like the coolest thing? You know what I mean? Nothing like that. There was no real technology. They were worried that the computers weren't going to be able to understand the codes that ended in 0, and they were all going to shut down, and Y2K was going to happen or whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's 2020, and we're all going to die from a pandemic, but our computers work just fine.
Our computers are
our phones are great.
Without us.
Yes.
They don't even need us anymore.
It's like a History Channel thing, and when we're all gone, what happens when?
Yeah.
And you just go nothing. Really, the Earth just keeps doing what it's been doing. Like, I mean, dinosaurs were around a lot longer than we've been around.
Oh, yeah.
The dinosaurs had hundreds of millions of years. We haven't had that long around here.
Because of our it's because of our cognitive capacity. You know.
Yep.
It's insane to think how quickly we developed, and like that's what the stone ape theory says. It's like psilocybin.
Yeah.
It's saying
it gave you ideas you never thought you'd even could think of. Like,
yeah, it's saying psilocybin basically helped create neural connections so quick within a generational period of human beings, within thousands of years. If like every generation was just throwing down mushrooms, that they could have passed on to our DNA or altered our DNA.
Especially if they were traveling in packs and you just had one big pack over generations.
Yeah.
And, even between them, and then, all of a sudden a couple of people start deviating out or doing whatever. It's like just like genetics. I mean, it's insane.
What's cool about tripping is like humans aren't the only species that do it.
No, I love the dolphins chewing puffer fishes and they get all fucked up from the toxins or whatever. But they had to have developed, I feel like an immunity towards it. They had to have been a dolphin that chewed on it. He was like, dude, this is awesome. And then he was just floating on his back. And they were like, all right, bite it once, not twice. Like the other, because dolphins are really smart too. Those are kind of like, they know. I don't think they're like, the higher power and all that, but they know they're alive. I feel like they can look at other alive things and realize, all right, that's a living thing. I'm a living, like, they're conscious almost.
It can look, like, I saw this video, like, a week ago. It can look in a mirror and recognize itself.
Like, he knows
because
that's
it looks
me.
in the mirror, and it's like checking itself out. Like, we do.
Seeing if there's anything,
Like, the way it's behaving is exactly how we would behave when we look in a mirror.
Yeah.
Like, we look at ourselves and how we look. The dolphin wasn't thinking that it was another dolphin in the mirror. It thought
he wasn't itself. Like, dude, what do you... Because I don't know if I've seen one where they did one in the jungle, and like the apes and the cheese and everything, they thought it was something else.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, dude, who's this dude rolling up on me?
It's crazy, because you think apes are like the second intelligence to humans. It's like, no, it's dolphins.
It's dolphins.
110%.
And, was it octopus? Or whatever, like squids or things like that? They're pretty... I don't think in a conscious way, but they're like clever as fuck. Like, they know You know what I mean? Like they get out of shit. Like, you know, you see ones that like squeeze themselves and stuff and get out of things or whatever. It's like, I know there's something about them too, but I know dolphins are just kind of scary. Just for that reason that you're like, dude, you know, we're different. Like it realizes like I'm not a dolphin.
Yeah,
I feel like that's what a
had
dolphin.
legs would be fucked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. All the dolphins fly away in the beginning of the movie. Goodbye and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah.
Because dolphins just because they realize which is kind of true that it's like it's the only other thing on Earth that you kind of like. I don't like the way that thing's looking at me. Like it knows I'm not a dolphin.
Dolphins
you know what
are
I mean?
very,
Like,
very intelligent. You know, they're right behind humans. They're second to us in intelligence, and because like when you look at the apes and like jaguars in the forest, it's like they just run towards the mirror like it's another.
They're aggressive.
Yeah, they want to attack it.
Or they're just like curious. But there's a difference between curious and knowing. Like the dolphin knew. The dolphin was like, oh, it's me.
Yeah.
Like I get it. I'm a dolphin. I know. It's fucked up. That's why I think when people used to think there was mermaids and shit like that, I think they were just like some type of porpoise or something. You know, might have looked kind of funky, but I do have a couple friends who think that mermaids are real. I think that there have been mer people.
There was like a documentary.
There was one of Discovery.
Yeah,
like
I think that's the one. It was a mermaid.
Like
documentary.
8 years ago or something, and we watched it here, and there was some found footage of one washing up on the beach and some guy running up, and my buddies were just convinced that it was real, and they were like, dude, how are you going to argue against these mer people? And I go, it's the same way I argue against Bigfoot. Why have you never found a dead one?
Yeah.
One of them's never just been dead somewhere and you showed up. No fisherman's ever just caught a mermaid accidentally, and like, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, they hide that stuff. I'm like, listen, man, I've seen Cloverfield and stuff like that, and that's found footage. You tell me that that's a real monster destroying Manhattan? It looked just as good as that. You know what I mean? Like, dude, of course they can just make something like that up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I could be 100% wrong. How big and deep is the ocean?
Yeah.
The Marianas Trench? I don't know what's swimming around down there.
I think they said the like populace of the ocean, the species that we've like marked, is around like 1%.
Yeah, there's things that you just because there's just pressures.
Yeah,
to this day you can't get down to.
We have craft that can, but it's like that craft is like it's not common, right? We've got a couple of them, so and it's very expensive to do those types of explorations.
Oh yeah, like James Cameron when he went down and all that stuff. That Mari, he was trying to be like the deepest. I saw another one though that like the guy went down really deep, but they went down too fast, so they hit all like the soot. So
What's the soot?
like all like the at the bottom's just all like at the bottom of the ocean just dirt and dead stuff and scales or whatever.
Yeah.
They came down too fast, so they kicked it all up. So like they couldn't see for a while because it's water, so it's not just gonna come back down like it would here. So like one of the things I know they made it down real deep and it just kicked up all this dust and shit. And they just couldn't see anything because they went down there.
Know
like
what direction to go.
Yeah, exactly. So you just kind of
just waiting for everything to settle, hoping a megalodon.
Oh, I mean
eat you.
Yeah, literally, yeah. You hope the Loch Ness monster doesn't come up and that's the end of you. I don't know. It's just me being hopeful, but there's got to be something down there. Like maybe not like Godzilla big.
Well, there for a long time we didn't think giant squids existed. Those exist.
That was in like the last 20 years. They actually got video of a giant squid.
Yeah.
And they're like 30 feet long or something like that.
And
insane.
there was a long period of time where people were like, "That's just a fisherman's tale," you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
like the Kraken.
Just like the Kraken.
It's the Kraken.
Just like mermaids, just like megalodons. They were like, "That's a fisherman's tale," you know. There's nothing like that out there, but we did find the giant squid. So.
Let's see how big a giant squid is. What do you think a giant squid is, like lengthwise?
Like 62 feet. That'd be my guess.
Giant squid size. 43 feet. 43? Roughly though. So I'm sure some could be in the 60s if it's like that.
And like,
that's insane, dude.
Oh my god, the eyeball on a giant squid.
That's so scary.
That is the biggest eyeball like known to man.
I don't know, for some reason like the one-sided eye, like how it having eyes on opposite sides like that. I don't know why it freaks me out, but I don't like.
That's a fucked up way to see.
It's like a grouper. You know what I mean? They kind of swim flat and they got an eye at the top and an eye on the bottom. You're like, dude, I don't like this. This is some SpongeBob character that I'm not a fucking fan of.
And like blue whales, like they fight giant squids a lot,
which is fucking nuts.
Yeah,
I mean, a blue whale is the biggest thing that exists on this planet right now.
Divers find evidence of giant squids attacking blue whales all the time. They see like the suction cup prints on the blue whale.
I'm sure sometimes they probably get stuck on them. So the thing probably loses. I wonder. You think they can regrow those? Are they like geckos?
Their tentacles? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. I wonder if they could. Probably not. I don't think. But that's still kind of.
They got a
Imagine
lot of
just,
them, so
like-
they can lose one.
Imagine being like a dolphin or something and swimming around like we were just talking about. You think he swims around the ocean? He's like, oh fuck, what's that? Oh fuck, like, or like you think he knows? You know what I mean? Like people know to stay away from lions and stuff like that. And he's
I'm
like,
sure they have their primitive
you think he's
instincts,
swimming and one of
yeah.
those dudes is like, dude, there's a giant squid down there, and they're all like staring at it, and they're like, holy shit, look at the size of that thing. Like Jerry, go down there, go poke at him. He's like, dude, I don't want to go down there. And you think they just because they're just like good dolphins? I just wonder if they mess around with other dolphins, like
Well, I'm sure their parents teach them what to stay away from and what not.
like
to
they
go
have
towards, you know.
accents.
Yeah,
Like
they have their own language.
they have
dolphins.
like different parts of the world with different dolphins. Just they make that noise like
different,
like
it's an
differently,
accent.
like it's an accent from where they're from. Like that's kind of like what the fuck? Dolphins have accents? Like I thought we had accents.
And they communicate with clicks.
Yeah, I would say I have an annoying one. I wonder if the other dolphins show up and there's a guy like me. He's like, hey, everyone, what the fuck's going on? And like, oh god, here he comes again.
Here comes fucking Steve.
You been over to the
that
fucking
guy.
harbor, dude? They're giving away all these lobsters. And he's like, Jesus Christ, dude. The ones from like the Caribbean, they're all like formal and stuff. They're like, all right, cool. Cool, Mark. That's fine. Like, yeah, get out of here, dude.
Fucking dolphins, dude. Intelligent motherfuckers. Like, they've done a lot of studies with dolphins. A lot.
Even
'cause-
was like crows or something. Was that or ravens? One of them are as smart as like 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds or something. They said,
It's-
which
it's
for an
crows.
animal, that's
Yeah.
pretty nuts.
Crows
They do like
are,
the dances when one of them dies around them and stuff. They do like rituals for like certain crows, like they acknowledge.
Yeah.
Like that always makes me sad too. That animals acknowledge like elephants make me sad because I think they're like smart, but they
Yeah.
just live such shit lives. Like how good is an elephant's life? Really, you just find food, right? And just like but like something that smart. Like dolphins, something that smart. It's the ocean. And you just swim around all the time. You don't got to worry about there not being water. You live in the ocean. Like an elephant has to walk around a desert and try to find water and follow the same path they've been following for like 50 years.
Elephants
And,
really don't have many predators there.
yeah,
it's
what's
like-
coming at an elephant?
Crocodiles, you gotta step on it.
Yeah, like literally, what's coming at an elephant?
Nothing.
Us.
Yeah.
That's what they
Well,
have to worry
us,
about
yeah.
is us.
They're the only predators towards it. I mean, when there's a dead one, then obviously
Oh,
there's
yeah,
traps, like the carnivores and stuff.
Which is funny. Like the more I don't know, I'll watch Discovery stuff, whatever, and I'm always like, man, if I was in Africa or somewhere, I'd be worried about like lions and tigers, and they're like, no, you got to worry about like hyenas and and
Hyenas
stuff
are
like
worse.
that, and like coyote, like badgers and
Yeah.
actual wild dogs that live over there and stuff like that is what you got to like.
Because what hyenas will do too is like obviously a couple of them can't take on a lion.
No.
But if there's a pack of them,
Then they're gonna fuck a lion
they'll
up.
fuck that lion up. Because what they'll do is they'll just keep circling around to the back of it until they can grab its balls, and then they'll whip it off.
Honey badgers do that shit too. I watched a thing with those that there was a couple honey badgers in some like dumpster, and some guy was watching these badgers, and like a hyena showed up, and I think he was saying they have like the hardest bite out of any animal, like per
Hyenas-
square. Like they can like they're meant to
Yeah.
crush through bones because they're kind of scavengers, so they
Yeah.
destroy bones. And this hyena rolled up in this badger in the dumpster or whatever. The thing didn't even realize it, and then they like jumped down and started running at, and the hyena took off because he was trying to take his balls off, and the hyena was like, "No, I'm out, dude.
Honey
I don't need
badger
this."
ones?
Yeah, like those
Jesus.
things are fucking mean, and I guess they're like skunks. They sprayed this awful spray too, and then they go right for your nutsack though. I guess right away they just
Honey badgers eat venomous snakes. They don't fuck around.
yeah they do. They showed them of they were getting like they put a beehive up. I guess wherever the fuck these I think it was South Africa, wherever the hell these honey badgers are from. Obviously they're called honey badgers because they eat honey. And these farmers were like trying to figure out different ways because they're really smart too. They're clever how to get to it.
Yep.
So like this one guy was building essentially like an obstacle course, like for this honey badger to get to this beehive.
Yep.
And every time that the honey badger figured it out, he figured out but he's sitting there eating the honey, and like the bees are just at him. They're just stinging this honey badger, and he's just kind of like shrugging it off, like, oh, that sucks. And he stopped, and he's just eating. But after a while, they ended up getting to him. But like, obviously, I see a bee, I'm running. This thing's in the nest, just eating its honey. Like, dude, come on, man. I just
Just
need a
taking
little
the
honey.
stings like a champ.
Yeah, he was just taking them. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. I get upset if I can't get a bag of chips or something. I'm not going to climb a tree and get stung by a bee to get some Doritos. Like, this thing's just first world problems. That's the...
Dude, have you ever gotten like the actual honeycomb from like a beehive? So
No.
Shaw's Farm,
Oh, yeah.
they sell it. They sell it by like the brick. So it's like
You can eat the actual
You
comb?
can eat it. You can eat it. But when you eat like regular honeycomb, it's like wax. So like, cause like you know how they make wax. Out
Yeah,
of, like,
yeah.
Bees and stuff like. So The little like hexagon things,
Yeah.
those are wax, and then within those are the honey, and that's where like the babies are born and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you can like take a piece of honeycomb and just like eat it.
Just
But
like chomping on it.
as you're eating it, like you suck down all the honey and you get all the honey out of it, and then you get like this piece of wax in your mouth. It's like you're chewing on a candle. That's exactly what it's like.
Wow.
And then you like take this big piece of wax out of your mouth. Like, but the thing is, like, the wax is edible. You can eat it. It doesn't. I mean, once you get the honey gone, it's just kind of like
Chewy.
it's almost
kinda...
like chewing on gum.
Oh, all right.
That's what it's like.
So you get all the flavor out of the gum, and then you're like, all right, I don't want this
It's like
piece
you
of gum anymore.
You
Yeah.
squish down the piece of honey, and then you get like a waxy gum.
That's supposed to be good for like allergies and stuff, isn't it? Like if you eat local honey.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, supposedly if you eat like honey from around where you are, like it helps you with like the pollen and stuff because it somehow makes
they
you.
use pollen to make the honey.
So like if you eat like local honey around, supposedly it helps you with allergies, too. But I got stung by a bunch of bees when I was a kid once. I was probably like 7. That's it. I see a bee, I run and scream like a little kid. I'm like, nope. I'm a grown man in my 30s, and I just see a bee, and I'm like, I'm out, dude. I'm out.
Yeah, my mom's allergic to bees. Like, she got stung once when I was little, and we were at like this lake. She got stung in the neck.
Ooh.
It started swelling up like really quick.
Like an EpiPen or something. I'm sure you don't have EpiPens on you. You know what I mean?
No. We didn't have it on. We didn't have any EpiPens at the lake, but yeah, she had to get rushed to the hospital and shit. She's very, very allergic to bees.
Does it swell up and everything?
Oh yeah. Her throat was swelling up.
Ooh.
The worst place to get stung by a bee if you're allergic is in the throat, because like
then you
that's
can't.
your airway.
It swells up immediately. Yeah.
That's your airway. You'll die.
What a shitty thing to know that you're allergic against. You don't know it unless you actually get stung by a bee.
Yeah.
Like you get stung by a bee, then you realize, oh shit, I'm dying. I'm stung by a bee.
Dude, did I tell a chocolate milk story yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, dude. Yeah, like you remember I told you it before. My dad, and like he came in, he drank it.
Oh my god! And
So-
you put a bunch of shit in it. Was it that one that you?
Yeah. So what happened? What happened? It was like a really hot, humid, sunny day, and I was outside, and there was this bee, and it was annoying me.
Yeah.
And I ended up killing it with like a fly swatter or something, and then I put it in this cup.
Like a bumblebee or like a jacket bee?
It was like a regular bumblebee.
Oh, okay.
It was a regular bumblebee, and it was fucking with me so much, and I ended up killing it, and I put it inside the cup, and like this like, it was just like a regular glass cup.
Yep.
And I put the bee in the cup, and then for whatever reason, I was like, I'm gonna make a potion. So I went in the house, and I was like 8 years old, and I put dish soap in it. I put milk. I put cayenne pepper.
Oh
I
my
put,
fucking god!
like every sort of spice I could find. I put in it. I put like
alchemy increased to 54.
I put orange juice in it. I put dirt in it, and at the
oh
end,
my god!
At the end of adding basically everything I could find, like I added a little bit of everything.
I love that you call it a potion.
It was a potion. I wanted to make a potion, and like for whatever reason, I was like, you need like animal parts to make a potion, and then when the bee was in the cup,
you need the eye of a raven or something.
When the bee was in the cup, I was like, that's my animal part. I can make a potion. So I put everything together and I stirred it up, and then it looked exactly like chocolate milk.
Oh my god!
And then I left it on the counter because I was like, my potion's done. All right, and I went and played with my toys or something.
Yeah, it's done. I did it.
Yeah, I was just like, I did it. It's cool. And then my dad at the time was a construction worker, and like I said, it was a really hot, humid day, and he came in the house, and he was dying of thirst.
Yep.
So he grabs the potion, the chocolate milk.
Oh my god!
And then he just downs it.
Did he
like
drink the whole thing?
He drank like half of it.
Oh my fucking god!
Because he was so thirsty that he
didn't taste it. He just liquid.
He was just like, chocolate milk. I'm gonna down it.
Oh my fucking god!
And he was puking for a solid 20 minutes in the sink.
Oh my god!
And he got so mad at me, and I was like, but you drank it. I was like, it's your fault.
Didn't tell you to drink it, dude.
I was like, it was my potion. I was actually mad at him because he drank my potion.
Like, dude, if you get superhuman powers, this is bullshit because I came up with this. How dare
I was
you?
like, this is my potion, dude.
Oh my god.
It's fucking hilarious. Like,
oh man, I wonder if he drank the bee.
I hope he did.
Oh my god.
Like, just That'd just be like the cherry on top. It's like, you gotta eat the cherry.
He threw up a bee, and he's like, "What did I drink? What did?"
He was puking his guts out.
Oh my god! Like immediately.
Like, I'm really curious how it tasted though. Like I just the amount
Something
of
you just couldn't even imagine. Like a
the amount
fucking
of things
Barry Bott's
I
every
added,
bean.
the amount of things I added to that must have been the most vulgar, disgusting liquid that was
Like a
crafted.
clumpy, spicy, salty fucking,
Dude, it was insane.
Imagine
I put mayonnaise in it.
Imagine
I
if it
put
was
mayonnaise.
good and he was like, Jesus Christ, this is the best thing I ever had. And you're like, oh, now you got to remember what you put in to make it again. You're like, fuck, that was good shit. I gotta kill a bee, dude.
It's not the same without the bee.
Oh, man.
Shit.
Tyler's potions, and then at the end you get canceled because everyone figures out you're just killing millions of bees for every single one of these. And you're like, dude, I need it. All right, it's my secret
People
ingredient.
outside my house, they want my potion.
But you have to have a bee that annoys you. You can't just find a bee. You gotta
No,
find
it's gotta be an annoying bee.
you gotta find an annoying bee. You murder it.
It's a very specific
It's
recipe.
very specific. Give it away in your deathbed after you're worth billions, and people are like, this dude's been putting dirt and mayonnaise and bees in this? Like, what? I'm dead now, so yeah, I did. How do you like that? What do you?
I used to do so many pranks on my dad when I was little. So many. Like, at least 2 to 3 times a week, I put a rubber band around the faucet thing.
Oh.
And he just gets soaked.
I did that to my stepdad because I never liked my stepdad.
Yeah.
And I did that to him once. I used to, I disliked the guy so much, and he was a fucking alcoholic. He used to always be drinking, like, his thing was drinking Captain Morgan's and natural ice, which I don't know if there's anybody out there listening that knows that combination. That's a fucking disgusting natural ice is like the cheapest beer.
Oh, I thought you
can
meant,
get-
I thought you meant ice. As
No,
in
it was
ice
called
in the
natural ice or natural light, or either one he used to drink. It's dog shit. It's dog
Yeah.
shit beer. And he used to drink Captain Morgan, and then what the fuck else was it? I think McGillicuddy's too. That was like he'd switch between those. Anytime he would get a clear liquor, I would pour almost all of it out, and then I would pour water into it to dilute it, and I would just leave it in the fridge. He never said anything to me once. I had to have done it to him a dozen times at least, and he never. I'm guessing it was just placebo effect. He's like, oh, bottle. I get drunk off this bottle, and I used to just laugh like, you fucking idiot.
He
You
just
drinking.
didn't care about the taste. He was
I,
just like,
he was just like, I need to get fucked up.
did you ever like just put water in it by itself and dump out?
No, it was
all
always a
of it?
little bit because I was always a little afraid that
Oh,
he was
okay.
going to flip out. So I'd always just kind of be like, I'll leave a little bit. I don't want to. I used to do a lot of pranks on roommates. We did some pretty. We faked a break-in once to scare one of my roommates. I hid in a refrigerator to scare a room. I'll tell you the greatest one that we never did. I won't say anybody's name because I don't want any of this, but me and my 2 roommates, one of them had a girlfriend at the time, and she was like crazy. She used to like leave notes on his car for him. Like she would write stuff on like cardboard paper and stuff and like
Yeah.
leave these like epic no, I love you and all this crazy stuff. I'm like, dude, this girl is nuts. So me and my buddy would go into a different state for a couple days, and we were like into elaborate pranks on each other at this point. It wasn't just like, scared you. Like we were like
Yeah.
into it. Like, no, we're gonna actually take a few days to think this out. So me and him were gonna leave, and our plan was that we were gonna get a banner and a bunch of streamers and everything, and put a "Will you marry me" sign in his room, and all these balloons because he came home with her at the same time. So they were gonna walk in together and both for the first time see this Willie, because she would have believed it 100% that it was from him, and now he has to explain that it isn't real. And we were like, dude, we were making plans for banners and what we were gonna do, and like almost towards the end, me and my buddy looked at each other, and we were like, no, she's like really gonna believe this. Like this is gonna be bad. So we never did it, and then we came back like 10 days later, and we were telling him, we were like, oh, dude, we were gonna do this to you, and he just had the most serious look in his face, and he was like, oh my god, no. You know how bad that would have been? He's like, dude, he goes, I think she literally would have killed me if I told her, like, this is just a joke or something. Like, he was so afraid. And when we told, he was like, oh my God, don't ever do anything like that. And just his reaction of us not doing it was almost so much, like, he was just staring, like, his face got all pale. He's like, no. Like, he just played the scenario in his head. He's like, this is going to be fucking awful. No, don't ever do that to me.
She would have killed him.
Oh, she would have. Yeah, she was
Jesus.
nuts. But, I
Wow.
mean, it's fun. Girls are nuts.
What a good prank! If she could have taken it like a champ.
Though
What a good
I
prank
should
it
say
would've
we almost should have done it because we came back after being away for like 9 days, and we came home, and he printed out a solid 200 pages of just gay porn, and he hid them everywhere in our rooms. Like, they were on the walls. Like, I mean, this happened probably around March, so, like, it wasn't that cold out, and, like, it came back to winter, and we were putting on hoodies. They were in, like, the pockets of our hoodies. I moved my room around one day, and I lifted my TV up. There was gay porn underneath my TV. I'm like, oh, my, this is just fucking elaborate. And I was like, dude, wait a minute. We didn't have a printer or anything at the time. Like, where'd you get all of this gay porn? And he's like, oh, I text my aunt, and I asked her to print me all this gay porn. I go, she didn't, like, question you or anything? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, yeah, but I was telling her it was like a prank or something. And I go, dude, I can just imagine your aunt just printing out a bunch of gay porn and her husband coming home being like, dude, what are you doing? You're like, oh, it's for your nephew. Don't worry. We're like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. That's when pranks are good, though, when they actually, like you think about them and you're like,
oh yeah.
Or if they're reoccurring, like you said, if you keep doing the rubber band thing and he keeps falling for it, at some point you're like, listen, man, this is on you.
This is your
fault.
This is entirely your fault.
I got you again with the rubber band. Like I'm not even laughing at this point. Like
one time I was playing basketball. I was playing basketball at the park, and he literally came. He walked all the way from the house to the park.
God.
And his shirt was soaked. He was like, "You motherfucker!" I just stopped playing basketball. I gave the basketball to my friend, and I was just like, "I gotta run." And he was like, "Okay." It's like he knew what I meant.
Did
I was
you just
like,
take off?
I just ran. Yeah. I ran in the opposite direction of
He
him.
walked down with a wet shirt to yell at a fucking ball. That's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
That's a skit.
I was like 11 years old, playing with my friends. I was like, I gotta go.
You're like, Ronnie, I gotta go. Just came up.
My friends were like, "What'd you do?" And I was just like, "I'll tell you later." I just did.
You just ran. That's so
I was
great.
like, keep my basketball safe.
You must have seen the wet shirt and been like, "Oh fuck!" Like, at the same time, like, dude, you fell for it again. What do you want from me? What do you?
It did. It's not like I could. It's not like I could say that to him because then he'd just chase me.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, not at that young. Even at this point, if an 11-year-old said that to me, I'd be like, "What the hell did you just say to me?" Even if you're right, don't fucking.
You're 11.
Jesus.
You can't say that to me.
Oh, nothing like pranks.
Pranks are like when you actually think about a prank and you plan it for a long time. That's the best.
Especially if it works.
Yeah.
When it actually like, wow, that got everybody. Like I fooled everybody. That's what I used to hide a lot, but that's not as funny. You just jump out and scare people, but it's still fun when you hide for a long period of time and people don't know you're there.
Yeah.
And you jump out and scare somebody. Actually, I don't even like to make the noise to scare them. I think it's funnier when you just like do something and they don't jump, and like they just like that horror feeling of like people freezing. I think that's almost more satisfying than someone screaming.
They're like, someone might be in my closet.
Yeah. Like literally, I've done that. I've just stared at somebody, a roommate or whatever, just like off to the side. They don't realize I'm there and watch them play video games for 10 minutes, and then just whisper their name, and then just that frozen like, I know that's Nick, but that just scared the crap out of me. That's because then I laugh harder, and they're just frozen. I don't know, for some reason people freezing up just because it's funny, the fight or flight, and they never say. There's another one. It's called Stand Still and Don't Do Anything and Die. Because I hated it always. Like, you either have the fight or flight. I'm like, I've scared plenty of people that don't move. And if I was a bear, you'd be dead. You know what I mean? Like, there's just got to be certain people that just see a bear running at them and they're like, do I run? Do I? And then that's it. And you're dead.
I wonder why humans have that reflex to just not move.
Like, what happened?
It's like,
because it had to have been some human that passed it down. That's how we all work. Someone has a trait that gets.
Not moving is actually beneficial in some situations.
Was it like, you know what I mean? Was Jurassic Park right? And it was T-Rexes everywhere and everyone was just standing still, but we weren't even around when those were around. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't really battling dinosaurs.
That was like a Jurassic Park's attempt to explain, like, I guess that action.
Which is funny because we don't even really know what dinosaurs looked like. Like, some people are like, oh, they had feathers.
Yeah.
And, they could have had this. They look more like birds and stuff. And you're like, we don't know. We find bones.
It's impossible to know.
Now, how do you know what something looked like 400 million years ago? You can guess, but you don't know really what it.
Yeah, like, I mean, you have the DNA of it from the bone, but
yeah.
Unless you can back engineer that somehow.
Though it is crazy when they find something like Siberia. Like, oh, here's this saber-toothed baby that's been frozen in the permafrost, and like it just looks like it was And you're like, Jesus Christ, how long has that thing been there? And
Yeah. Like, that's one of the coolest things about frozen animals. Like, if you find a frozen mammoth, which I'm sure there are frozen mammoths, like, they're going to be fully intact.
Yeah.
You know? Like, there's going to be no decay to the body at all.
Nothing. I think they can even tell you, like, what the last thing it ate was.
Yeah.
Like, it's still in its stomach.
It's going to be in its stomach, yeah.
Like, how fast would meat you need to be frozen right now? And they were like, all right, this guy had some burgers earlier. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it would have to happen quick.
Oh, yeah.
Too, especially for a woolly fucking mammoth. I mean, how big was that thing? It was getting frozen. It was meant to live in somewhere like that, and it was still dying of the cold.
It had to have fallen through ice. And then,
yeah, I think it got injured or something maybe, and it just...
Yeah. Tar pits, though. Tar pits are another
Same.
preservation ones. But they preserve the bones.
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, it's not ice, so it's not going to preserve the flesh. But
that was, like, one thing I never understood, like, when they called it fossil fuels. Like, oh, all this stuff comes from, like, dead dinosaurs. And I was always just like...
Our cars run on dead dinosaurs.
And I was just like, what do you mean? How does that turn into oil and stuff? And it's like, millions of years in pressure and all this. And I'm just like, I still am like, I don't get how a dinosaur died and now I get to drive my Jeep around wherever I want. And like... Is this a velociraptor or is this, a bronchiosaurus in my Jeep? Because I'm actually very strict on which dinosaur gas I get.
Imagine that's what we called it, dinosaur gas.
We're like, it's dinosaur gas.
I mean, that's what it is.
Imagine like pterodactyl.
Imagine there were like buttons on like the gas pump, and it was like, you want pterodactyl?
Instead of like the premium or the plus, it was like you get the good dinosaurs. Like I don't want none of that little bronchiosaurus bullshit.
The T-Rex is like the best gas line.
Yeah, yeah. You get a diesel, you're getting the T-Rex. Submarines running Leopleurodons. It is crazy how big things were back there too. I know it was because it had to do with there's more oxygen, or it was more. There was more, and it was a warmer Earth. But it's like nothing around now is like that big, really, to the point where like this is what a megalodon used to look like. Like that thing used to swim in the fucking. Oh, we wouldn't even have submarines if things that big were swimming around.
Yeah,
we'd be worried about bumping into one of them. Or whatever. And now it's like, I mean, still great whites are huge. And like, this is a 30-foot great white. Dude, that's huge. And something like, no, they used to be like 100-foot, whatever swimming around.
Yeah. Like, I forget if we talked about it on the podcast, but Predator X, did I ever tell you about that?
Maybe.
So it was like this little lizard. And it started off as a lizard, and then its evolution within the, like it evolved to, so it almost like it was like a backward evolution. It went from land to sea.
Yeah,
that's what it did instead of going from like sea to land, and it evolved into basically it had one of the most successful evolutionary trails. It evolved until it became so massive that it would eat megalodons.
Oh my god.
It would prey on megalodons. That was it.
That's what it ate?
That was its prey.
Oh my god.
Full-grown megalodons. It would eat them. And not many people talk about Predator X. But, like, it's so much more fascinating than a megalodon. Because when you think about, like, the biggest thing in the ocean, people like megalodon.
Megalodons.
That's like, the thing to go to. But Predator X was much more massive.
Like a cruise ship. Dude, it was, like, underwater. You know, like, that's insane, dude. Something's eating megalodons. And
Predator X became so successful that it had to start preying on its own species to survive.
It was almost too good.
And that's how it died. Literally,
just ate itself out of existence.
It ate itself out of existence because it was so successful.
It just ate everything it could eat.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, well, what's left?
It was
us. All right, then I'll.
And we know that from the fossil record because all the bones that we find in Predator X's is basically there's literally Predator X bites on the Predator X's bones.
Oh, like it hit the bone and they could see how big the teeth is or whatever.
It wasn't just fighting like to mate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know how some animals fight to mate, but they're not trying to kill each other.
Yeah. It's dominance. It's like rams. Just
It's like no, its bones were broken. It's like whatever killed this Predator X. The only thing around there at that time to kill
was another one.
Predator X, and like the only reason to do that is to eat it.
Hungry because they're starving to death. Yeah, that's I think they're worried about not the same thing, whatever, like why they do certain hunting seasons, certain animals, because it's like, well, if we leave those animals alone, they're going to eat everything around, and then they're all going to die.
Yeah.
or they're gonna overbreed to a point where there's not enough food.
Yeah.
And it's like, so we gotta start with this, because if not, they're gonna start fucking predator Xing each other and just start eating each other, and then
Yeah.
at one point now there's just one left.
That's why you need that's why you need an ecosystem, really.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just have one successful organism,
No.
or it's just gonna decimate the ecosystem, and then it's gonna die
I
itself.
mean, how many stories you hear about even like small certain fish from some other country getting dumped into some lake,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden like they have a problem with
They
that
have a big
fish, and
problem.
they have a big problem because that thing's up there. Snakeheads, and someone's putting one of those fish in there, and now it's just eating everything in there, and there's no like one of the great examples is the Everglades. I mean, there was a hurricane or something in the 90s or whatever it was, and like some reptilian thing blew open or whatever and scattered thousands of snakes and all
Is it
that.
a reptilian zoo, or
It was something like that. I don't know if it was like a whatever you would call it, but I know that's what. And then now there's an insane amount of reptiles and everything down in the Everglades that like they have to go out, like they go out and they kill thousands of snakes and all this stuff
Because
every
they
year
don't
because
belong there.
there used to be. I think I read somewhere that like between like the small squirrels and rabbits and chipmunks and things like that, there's like 90% less than there used to be there now because all the boas and everything like that are just eating all of them.
Yeah.
Like they got snakes battling fucking alligators
Yeah.
down there and stuff. Like those are two things that don't. They'd probably stay away from each other if it came down to it. You know what I mean? A snake and an alligator. I'm sure they know. They got the reptile brain, so they're not really thinking. But they look at each other like, this ain't gonna be easy.
Yeah.
This ain't gonna be taking on a rabbit or something. Like I'm gonna have to battle this thing to eat it. And snakes is so crazy because I had one for a long time too. It's like they'll just kill something and try to eat it.
Yeah.
Like even if they can't eat it, they're like, well, I'm gonna fucking give it a shot, dude. I'm gonna figure this out.
Yeah, I remember seeing this picture of this anaconda, and it was wrapped around an alligator, and it ate it halfway down, and then it died.
Yeah, it's suffocated.
Yeah, because it was way too big to eat.
But it was just naturally. It's like gotta eat it.
Gotta eat it.
I had a ball python for like 15 years, and I always just fed it mice. Always just mice.
Yep.
And it wasn't that big. It was probably like 3 to 4 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I got it when I was like 12. So I remember being like 16, 17. I'm like, dude, I want how do I get this snake bigger? And there used to be, I don't remember Masons.
Yeah.
So I'd go down to Masons and I'd be like, what do I do to get this snake bigger? And like, oh, you got to feed it a little more, feed it something bigger.
Yeah.
And it'll slowly, gradually get big. So I'm like, all right, I'll get a couple rats.
Yeah.
So after feeding it to mice, which like, there's such different species to mice and rats, like especially intelligent wise and everything like that. So
Oh yeah.
I gave it a rat, and it like battled this one rat. It ended up killing it, but the rat was fighting back, and it killed it, and it ate it. And I waited, like I think a week or two, might have been 3 weeks, and I got another one, and I put it in there. The snake wanted nothing to do with that rat.
Really?
The rat wanted nothing to do with it. I put the rat in there. The rat immediately just dug, because it had like shavings. I don't know, you know what I mean, for like a rabbit or something. It's almost like sawdust,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
the fuck
yeah.
it is. But I had that in there, and it like burrowed itself in. And then I'm like, I remember being like, I was still in high school, and I was like, yeah, I'll wake up, fucking rat will be dead, whatever.
Yeah.
And I wake up, dude, I swear to God, the rat and the snake were drinking out of the same bowl at the same time. And I was so angry, I put the rat in my backyard and I let it go. And I was like, I hope a fucking hawk gets you, you shitty. And I just let the rat go because I knew, because it was in there for almost a day. And I'm like, all right, the snake's not
Yeah.
eating, because that first rat battled him. And I think for some reason the snake was just like, no,
Snake was like,
I'm not doing this
that
again. But
No.
then you dump a mouse. Dude, the mice is so stupid. They'd like walk up to him, like, "Hey, buddy, who are you?" Oh, dead. You know, like,
Yeah, I had snakes for a while too. Because I really got into like ball python morphs, so like different types of morphs for them.
Yep.
Like I had a pastel enchi, which is a black and yellow ball python breed,
that's pretty cool.
and I had it since it was a baby, and I raised it till it was pretty old. And then I had a pewter mystic, which is basically a pastel cinnamon mystic. Those are like the specific genes.
Yeah.
And like you can have snakes like with those individual genes, and then like you breed them together, and then you get like you have a chance of reproducing snakes with all those genes in them. And the more genes a snake has, kind of the more valuable it is,
Yep.
because it's harder to get all those genes in order in a specific snake. So I had a pewter mystic, which is a 3-gene ball python, and it was a really cool snake because it had like graffiti. That was its pattern. like like bubbly graffiti.
Yep.
Yeah, that was its pattern on it, and it was brown, white, and black, and it had like bubbly graffiti all along the sides of it. So it didn't have like the normal pattern of a ball python. It was a ball python, but it had like
Yep.
graffiti, and it was so cool looking, and I wanted to breed like the yellow and black one, the pastel entry, with that one. So I was raising the black one, the yellow and black one from birth, which was kind of stupid. I should have bought like an adult female and adult male, because I mean it takes a long time.
Yeah.
But I was like 15 when I was doing it, and I would order frozen mice. So like they would come in,
the pinkies or whatever. Yep.
Yeah, I would order frozen rats and frozen mice, and I thaw them out, and then I'd feed them to the snakes.
Yep.
Because I didn't want them getting hurt. Because like I researched it, and I knew that rats
fight back.
Rats fight back.
Yeah.
And like the snakes were getting big, and they needed like a bigger food source, but I wanted them to be safe too.
Yep.
Eating. So that's how I fed them that way. But what I started doing, because the frozen rats started becoming so expensive, because it was like $100 a month.
Jesus Christ!
To get those.
It was
rats.
like $5 to get 2 live mice.
Yeah. And what I started doing, I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna breed like regular white mice from like the store.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna feed them to my snakes. And I started doing that, and then so I started with 2 females and 1 male. As soon as the male like made the female mice pregnant, I was like, fuck the male, and I tossed him into the snake cage
and just let him get eaten.
Yeah. And then so each female had like 6 babies.
I would say that must have been a lot of fucking mice.
Each female had like 6 babies. So they had males and females, obviously, and they grew up. And I had to separate the males from each other, because if I didn't,
eat each other.
They'd eat each other.
Yep.
Yeah. So you would need 1 male with like 4 or 5 females in like a tub, and then that's how you do it.
Yep.
And then when you feed the snakes, you want to feed them the males.
But then you're talking about 4 times every tub. So now you're times in every tub by about 4.
So I was 15 and I had no fucking idea what I was doing, and I made a really, really efficient mouse producing system with like racks and tubs and shit. And so I made it way too efficient, and I eventually had like over 200 mice.
Oh my fucking! You're like a hoarder at one point. I mean, accidentally, but
it happened so quick. It was like 2 months within the breeding.
Oh.
And
now you have an infestation of mice.
I had over 200 mice, and I was.
What'd you do with all of them?
I was trying to feed them to my snakes, but I couldn't do it quick enough.
Yeah, because they only eat. I mean, the snakes can go a few months without eating.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're not trying to eat every day, like.
No, they were big, so I was feeding them every couple days.
Yeah.
Even though you only want to feed them once a week.
I would do.
Rats.
Yeah.
I didn't have the rats, so I was just using the mice, and it got so bad, the population, that I couldn't feed them enough. So they started
eating each other.
They started eating each other.
Oh my god.
They started eating each other, and because like, and the way I found out is like, because they don't leave any bones behind, really.
They eat everything.
They eat everything.
Yeah.
And like what they would do is they would gang up on the weakest one and then eat it.
Yeah, just like any species.
All gang up on the weakest one and tear it apart. And I found out because there was a foot that they left behind underneath the sawdust.
That's good.
So
you found a foot one day and you were like,
I found a foot and I was like, they're fucking eating each other.
Now you have this whole different perspective of like, who am I sleeping with at night? A bunch of fucking cannibalistic savages that are.
Yeah, so that happened, and then like it literally got to the point where they ate each other. Like, it's just what happened. They cannibalized each other till there were almost none of them left.
Jesus Christ.
And I was trying to feed them, but for whatever reason, they kept eating each other.
Yeah, because they got a taste for it.
Yeah, they were just fucking crazy cannibalistic.
I don't know if you've ever seen the new James Bond movies with Daniel Craig.
No.
But I think it was the second one. He gets captured by a guy. I don't know if you've ever seen Old Country for Old Men, but
yeah, I've seen
the villain in that guy.
Okay. Yeah.
He's the villain in the Bond movie, and he captures Daniel Craig, James Bond at one point, and they're on some island, and he tells him, you know how we get rid of all the rats in this island? He says that we dig a big hole, and the rats fall in the hole, and then we just let the rats sit there until they cannibalize each other, and then once the rats have a taste for other rats, they don't eat other food, and they released those rats onto the island. So those rats would kill the other rats because they don't eat anything else. They only want to eat other rats. So they would keep digging these
Jesus.
holes and making these cannibalistic rats and just unleashing the rats on the island, and that's how they would get rid of all the rats.
So apparently that's a real thing.
So that's what you did, accidentally.
That's what happened to me.
Tyler's a James Bond villain. Accidentally.
I accidentally.
Did you ever think of just like fucking just opening the door one day and just being like, "See you later"?
I did. Yeah.
Did you have? Yeah.
But like I ended up just feeding them off, and then
Yeah. I mean, you try to do that first because you don't want to.
once I fed off the rest of them, because it was just way too much of a hassle breeding them mice. It was horrible. And once I fed them all off, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm just gonna sell the snakes. So I ended up selling the snakes and like the tub system that I had for them.
Yep.
And that was the end of my snake experience.
That was the end of the snake. My snake is buried in the backyard right now.
Yeah.
Same backyard I live in. I buried him. I named that snake Jake. It was Jake. I had it for about 15 years. So like the first 5 years, I'll say it was Jake the Snake because I was into wrestling. So I called him Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
And I forgot who came over. I had a buddy or I don't remember. Somebody came over and they were holding the snake and they go, "This is a girl." And I went, "What?" And like, yeah, I guess you can tell from the tail of a snake if it's a boy or a girl. So I ended up finding the poor last 8 years of that thing's life. I was like, well, I'm still gonna call it Jake. It's been Jake forever. And then
Transgender
at the same
snake.
time, it's a fucking snake. Those reptiles don't have any emotions towards me. If that thing could have gone out and eaten me, it would have. Never mind me feeding it and loving it for 15 years. That thing didn't give a crap about me. What do you?
Like I still want to breed snakes. Like when I'm like more financially sound.
Yeah.
Like I still want to breed snakes though because it's just having 2 snakes and then breeding them and getting the eggs. And getting the babies and like
get a lot of eggs too.
It's honestly, it's not that much work if you can afford like just the food.
Yeah,
because
the electricity, keeping them all warm and all that shit. And
yeah, keeping them warm.
Did you ever were you a heating lamp or a pad underneath?
It was a pad.
Yeah, me too.
So I
did the pad underneath.
I bought a pre-built like tub rack system that could fit 3 snakes, and it was like. I'd say it was like 6 feet long and like 3 feet high, and then like its width was like another 2 to 3 feet.
Yep.
And it had like these really big 28 quart tubs that you could like pull out from like each section, and that's where the snakes went in. You put like bedding in there. Where I just put newspaper in. Newspaper and like their dish of water, and then it had heat tape all custom made in the back. So it was pre-built, like I said, and like I got it in the mail, and that's what I got. It cost me like $300 for that like tub system.
That's still not terrible. I mean,
yeah, it was nice though. It was nice.
I went to a middle school that gave us fake jobs. I think I told you about that before, and I was in some science fake job. No, whatever. The teacher really just didn't give a shit about us. So we were kind of all just hanging out in there, and we got paid fake money. Which was called Mogan's, and it looked like Monopoly money, literally. So I had this bright idea that I was going to charge everybody in my middle school to come and watch my snake eat a mouse, because I'm like, how many people have really seen in real life? Because it's scary and awesome at the same time how quick that thing just grabs that mouse. And sometimes it doesn't get it right away, so the mouse is like, whatever, and you just...
The mouse knows it's
you don't.
die.
Oh, and it knows, and it's like trying to scratch or whatever, but it's like, you're dead. Yeah. You're not scratching through. You know what I mean? You're a mouse too. And I remember, so I brought it in the morning. We didn't. It was called Micro. We didn't go to it until like 1:30. It was like the end of like the last hour and a half, last 2 hours of the day. So I brought it in the beginning of the day, and I had one of my buddies, because I had a pretty big setup too for the snake. So I had one of my buddies bring in the snake, and I remember we were walking like through the school up the stairs with the snake, and girls were like screaming, jumping away.
Oh, really?
And just as a boy, you just think it's funny. You're young, you're like, oh, this fucking girl's getting scared of the snake. So I had the snake sitting in the science class until Micro started. And I remember I kept getting told because the other teachers thought it was funny that like certain girls wouldn't go into the class because they thought the snake. So I'm like the most popular kid in school on that day. I'm like, this is the coolest fucking day ever. Yeah. I got all the other Micros. I made a lot of fucking Mogans. I think I charged them like 10 or what. I didn't know. I was like 12 or whatever. Yeah. I had a fucking stack of cash. I'm sitting there. There's probably 50 people maybe a little more, standing around this tank. And all I'm thinking is, wait a minute. I know, the snake's a lot of its movement and heat. And I'm like, so all the snake sees right now is heat. It's not going to know when the mouse is in there.
Yeah.
Almost. So it drops the mouse in. The first, 3 minutes, I had, a log thing that it lived under.
Yeah.
And it's just under the log. And now I'm just like, and a couple of people are getting a little restless, like, dude, nothing's happening. And I'm like, oh, my God, this snake's not going to eat anything. And now I'm going to look like the biggest, you know what I mean? I'm riding this high that I'm the coolest fucking kid around. And I remember just sitting there like, oh, man, what the fuck am I going to do? What am I going to do? And as I'm thinking it just came out of the log out of nowhere and just boom, and grabbed the second. People were like, ah! And people were running away and stuff. And I was like, oh, thank God. I didn't even get to enjoy the moment. I was more just like, oh, thank God that I'm not the next day. Everyone's going to be like, Nick's got this fucking snake that doesn't do anything.
You brought your whole tank to school?
I brought the whole tank. I brought everything. I brought the
Wow.
whole setup and 2 feeder mice. And it ended up eating both of them. But at first, it took...
Where did you feed the snake?
In the classroom.
In the classroom?
I did it in the classroom, yeah.
What about the teacher?
Yeah, she was there.
She was there?
Well, I had to ask before, obviously, to bring the snake in or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But whatever we were doing whatever we were learning at the time kind of had something to do with it. That's why she let me do it.
Oh,
I don't know if it was it wasn't some fucking Lion King Circle of Life thing, but there was some science things that we were learning about that. And I was like, well, I have a snake. I'll bring it in with the mouse
did
or whatever.
Did a snake come up in discussion in class? And
it was something like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was something like that where they would. I don't remember the whole, but I remember something like that came up, and I was like, or them talking about eating, how snakes eat, and then I remember it was the frozen thing too, and I said I can't do I tried the frozen, and my snake just wouldn't go for it at all. It just didn't care that there was a frozen dead mouse in there. I think just because I fed it live mice for so long that it needed a live.
What I did is I would take it by the tail and wiggle it. And then the snake would be like, "Oh, it's alive," and then
would see it. And
yeah,
whoever little skater would get you
because
though.
They smell the scent.
Yeah,
but they also want it to move.
Yeah,
because that's what makes them strike is like the moving.
That's that's what they do, the little tongue thing to feel the vibrations.
Even after the snake strikes the mouse, I'm still holding it by the tail. I'll wiggle it like the mouse is fighting.
Oh, so it's fighting it a little bit, so it thinks it's.
That's what I did with my snakes with the frozen mice because I thaw them out and then I just wiggle it. And that's what I did.
I used to just go down to fucking Mason's, get some feeder mice.
Yeah,
give me a couple mice.
Well, that's what I did. I went to Mason's, and I bought my mice there that I bred. That's where I got.
Oh, so you bought the feeder mice and then did it yourself?
Yeah.
Did you ask for a male and a female?
I did.
All right. They were cool though. They were just like, dude, fucking breed some mice if you want.
They were like, you breeding mice, and I was like, hell yeah, and they were like, nice. Mason's was really cool.
That was the coolest fucking place around, man. I got a rabbit from there once too, who it had the floppy ear rabbit.
Yeah.
And I got that. I think I got it for Easter one year as a gift. I had that for a while too. And we had a backyard, and I built its own cage so it could be outside all night and everything. Nothing could get to it either. I built this fortified cage for this thing. It couldn't go anywhere. And then the fucking landlord one day was like, I'm paving the whole backyard for more parking or whatever. So I felt bad because I didn't want the rabbit just living in an apartment in a cage. So I gave it away to some fucking place. Because I guess the floppy ears, for some reason, people like that. Instead of this, its ears were always just flopped down.
Yep.
And I remember I didn't want to give it up. My mom had the guy who was the breeder. I gave it to a breeder. Mm-hmm. And I remember the guy showed up, and he put it to me in such dude terms, I gave it up. I was probably 13. And I had the thing for 3 years. So I'm like, no, this is my rabbit. I'm not giving up my rabbit.
Yeah.
And then the guy came over, and he was talking to me, and I was just kind of like, I don't care. Dude, and he was like, listen, you know what this rabbit's going to end his life with? He goes, the next 5-6 years of this rabbit's life, he's just going to be banging other girl rabbits, making rabbits. And I was like, all right, here you go. And I gave it to him. That's a good way to put it to me. I can't give him a better life than him just banging other girl rabbits forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good end. It's
a good ending.
That's a good end. I'm like,
that's a solid
all right, you got me, dude. You got me. All right, here you go. I said that he probably murdered and ate it that night. What the fuck do I know he did with the rabbit?
Oh
God.
He fucking ate your rabbit.
He probably did.
He probably ate
his
rabbit.
fucking floppy ears and everything. He's fucking stupid
Jesus.
kid.
Years after that, you were just like, my rabbit's banging other rabbits.
That's all I'm thinking. There's probably other little floppy-eared rabbits running around.
He made fucking rabbit soup that night.
That dude threw that thing out the window as he turned the corner. Fuck you, rabbit. Jesus Christ.
That's funny. That's funny.
Shit we go through.
Fuck yeah, man. I think that's a good place to end it, though.
This is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
This is a fun one.
Solid podcast. Thank you for everybody for listening. And
yes, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. And we'll fucking
comment down below.
we'll have another episode coming out next week.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Everyone take it easy.
Adios.